This is the fourth screenshot video on sources of the law. It is a continuation of the third screenshot video, which is addressing the model of judicial decision making. And we left off at the rules of precedent, and more specifically, we were looking at the third rule of precedent, which is if precedent is from the same court, it should be followed unless there is a compelling reason not to follow it. And what I have in the notes is the third rule, where I say under Rule 3, the Supreme Court itself must follow Roe versus Wade unless there is a compelling reason for it to no longer follow that precedent. And I continue to say it is an open question as to what a compelling reason means in this context. But my prediction level was good when I said I can assure you that the Supreme Court will soon be answering that question when it reconsiders the precedent of Roe versus Wade. And of course it did in June of this year, 2022, when it issued the Dobbs decision, and a majority of the court overruled Roe versus Wade. It would be interesting if you wanted to. This isn't a course in con law, so I would be adding too much to the course if we did it, but it would be interesting for you to look at the Dobbs decision and read what Justice Alito had to say about why there should be an overruling of Roe versus Wade. His opinion was joined in by 4 other judges, and I would leave it to you to conclude whether indeed he identified a compelling reason. Certainly he said that in his estimation, which again was an estimation that other judges followed to constitute a majority of the court, is Roe versus Wade was wrong, egregiously wrong, a fancy way of saying terribly wrong, utterly wrong when it was decided. And that's a rather bold statement, and it might cause some people to wonder whether Justice Alito was really believing he had reached a compelling reason in his role as a judge, or whether his understanding of the natural law was such that he reached that conclusion. Again, I'm not offering any opinion, but I'm throwing that out there. That would be interesting for you to consider if you had the time. To continue and to take a look at Rule 2, if precedent is from a lower court or a court from another jurisdiction, it doesn't have to be followed but can be considered persuasive. I point out a lawsuit I was involved in a while back, and there was a question of law. And the case was pending in a trial court in New York State, and my law clerk and I searched for precedent. We couldn't find anything in New York State. I was kind of surprised, but we couldn't. It was kind of a oddball question, but very important in the context of the case. And so we ended up with a case from the highest court in the Minnesota state court system. And in keeping with what I've said about Rule 2, when we brought the case to the court's attention, and how we do that, we write briefs and we show up and argue and so on. I can remember the judge saying at oral argument that, I don't have to follow this case if I don't agree with the court's reasoning. And in response, me saying something like, I know that, but I believe that the court's reasoning is sound. The judge agreed, fortunately, and he followed the precedent, but since it was from out of state, he had the discretion not to follow it. The third rule, and let me pop back up, is, again, we've talked about it. I'm sorry, with this scrolling. One of my students when we were online during the precedent said this drove him nuts. And we hope that he gets out of the sanitarium soon. Hold on. Here we go. I just wanted to repeat under Rule 3, that's what we had in the Supreme Court when it decided the Dobbs case. In Rule 3 again is, if precedent is from the same court, it should be followed unless there is a compelling reason not to follow it. So this is a short video, but it's a good place to stop. We've completed our look at judicial authority. We're going to be taking a look at how the legal systems and the court systems are, if you will, structured at the state and federal level in later units of study in this course. But in terms of sources of the law, we've completed judicial authority, but what we're going to find is that judicial authority is going to come in the side door when we talk next about legislative authority. But this will close out this video. Thank you.